Hi, this is Danny, and I'm going to show you some tips and tricks with saving and loading and troubleshooting your designs, so that way everything goes smooth and predictably when you go to run your job at Make717. I've got this Cheshire Cat design. I have it loaded in Inkscape. So basically this is just a variation on the keychain that we did during orientation. The first thing that I do when I complete a design for the laser is I load it into Retina Engrave, and I make sure that everything is transferring over in a predictable way. You can find a link to Retina Engrave to install it on the Make717.org website under Equipment, Laser Cutter Moderate, and then under the software section we have Retina Engrave 3D. So you'll want to download and install that, and once you do, you can go ahead and open Retina Engrave. And so even though I don't have a laser cutter at home, of course, I can still run this software, and it allows me to verify my designs. And it also has a really handy feature with simulating vector cut, which I'll show you. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to load this design and make sure that it's working like I'd like it to. So go to File, Print, select my Full Spectrum Engineer driver, go Print, alright, so I have my raster. If we're going to actually run the job, I would do something like a halftone dither. I could select that over here. And under the vector cut, I see my vector is loaded. However, I do notice there is one issue. See if you can spot that. You see where the ear is here? And then here. So the raster and the vector are not lining up. So the reason for that is the white space is automatically being trimmed in the raster. So it's moving that design up. So there's two ways that I can fix that. The most intuitive way, not necessarily the easiest, is I can actually just draw a box around both designs. Make sure that's encapsulates both. So now I have this box, and it's going to act as like a bounding box. Alright, so that looks perfect. That is one way to do it. There is a better and easier way. If I want to avoid that white space getting trimmed, I can leave the design as is. I don't have to add that bounding box. And if I go to full spectrum, I can select ignore thin vector. And now when I go to File, Print, and I load up that design, we can see that it didn't trim that white space. It works. By default, on the Make717 laser computer, that ignore thin vector is going to be selected, and our designs by default will load in that manner. You may, however, change those import options. So the design looks good and it's ready to go. The last thing I might want to check is simulate vector at 1x and hit start. And I want to make sure that my line is only going to be traced over one time. If it were traced over 2 times, that would be because the stroke thickness is too thick, and I would want to bring that down to 0.1 points or lower. That design is good. I've verified it, and the one last thing that I've started doing just to avoid any issues is to basically save that entire process and be able to load it at the Make717 computer. So I could just bring in this Inkscape file, but I found that sometimes there's changes made to Inkscape, or there's changes made somewhere in the print driver, or one of the some software component on the computer. So one of the best ways to avoid that is to actually save that file that's being generated by the print driver. And to do that, we can select the full spectrum engineer driver. This time we're going to do print to file. So basically, this is saving the file that is normally loaded into full spectrum. So I can go save to file, print. By default, it's set to this PRN extension. I'm going to select all files, and I'm just going to overwrite one that I already have. I'll just do it again. So CC for Cheshire Cat, and the actual file that's being generated is XPS. One of the only files that you can actually open directly in Retina Engrave. So I've got that file saved. I'm going to clear my workspace. I'm going to drag and drop that file I just created just to make sure it loads. I like to double check everything. So my file looks great. It loads just as expected. So now I would go ahead and save this cc.xps file onto a flash drive. And when I get to Make717, I would load it up just like I did here. Just drag and drop it. Alternatively, this is one of the files that you can do open file. But this helps you to avoid a lot of issues and things that could have been changed on the Make717 computer. That's how you do it in Inkscape. Personally, I use Illustrator. The steps are basically all the same. I'll show you real quick. File, print, and we don't have the dialog that we have in Inkscape. So to bring that dialog up, we have to do setup, continue, and so we can print to the full spectrum engineering driver like we did before, or we could do save to that file and print. So basically the same steps, just slightly different. Clear my workspace, and I'll go ahead and drag and drop that file I just created. Make sure it loads up all right. And it looks perfect. Awesome. All right, so now you know how to do a little bit of troubleshooting and to test out your vector in the vector simulate, and how to save and load the XPS file. So if you have any questions, you can get on the Telegram and ask me, or email me at danny@make717.org. I hope this helps, and thanks for watching. Bye.